Hello, elegant listeners, and welcome to Go My Favorite Sports Team. Mark is back. The podcast is whole again.
I want to know if people preferred Wade being there to me. I want the truth.
Well, I mean, I was looking at the numbers and I'm not going to say anything.
You're not going to say anything, but you just said you were looking at the numbers. You're gonna leave that hanging out in the open like that?
Hey.
I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm looking at the numbers right now. Hang on.
Oh.
I got to go look at the numbers.
You going to go look at the numbers?
I got to look at the numbers, number. Oh no, I have to log back into the numbers.
You have to log back in?
I have to log back in. Numbers at number on number. Oh no!
I was looking at the numbers and it was one of the fastest listened episodes.
It actually is. It's true.
Yeah.
What is up with that? What's up with that?
Listen, people apparently love Wade.
Oh, it's just because Wade knows about sports and I don't. Oh, you think that makes it so you can do this to me?
Listen, I missed you, Mark. I missed you.
I don't care if you missed me. I care if the people missed me.
Wow. Okay.
What?
Okay, I only didn't see you for like 4 weeks, an entire month.
What?
Felt like 2020 all over again.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm here now, and I feel terrible because you didn't say anything and you made me look up the numbers. So if you feel bad, look back on your past actions and realize it's all your fault.
Past me, it's your fault. I'm better now. All right, there we go. I did what you told me to do.
Good, the balance has been restored. All right, but I'm here now. What are we talking about?
Well, I was going to ask how you're doing. You know, we haven't talked about a whole lot because I didn't want to bother you when you were lying sick in bed for weeks.
Oh, so bored. Oh, man. Is this about sports? I can't even keep my eyes open.
Wow.
Me, how I'm doing. Who cares how I'm doing? No one cares. It's about the content.
How's
It's about the
Chica doing?
delicious content.
How's Chica doing?
Oh, Chica has no legs.
Wait, what? I thought you said she had legs.
No, she has no legs.
It's
opposite day.
Oh, shit. Got me.
Is it?
It's
It's not opposite day, you idiot. Opposite day doesn't exist.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure if I looked it up, it exists.
What day is it?
Not opposite day.
Wait a minute. Look up when opposite day is. Look up when opposite day.
I know what day opposite day is, Mark.
What the? For those of you who don't know, opposite day actually is apparently written down as a day, and it's January 25th. You know what else is on January 25th, everybody at home?
No idea, Mark.
That's Tyler's birthday. That's hilarious.
So anyway. Wait, what does that mean for me then, if that's the case?
Oh, the worst possible meaning you could imagine. I can't think of it right now because it's too horrible.
Oh.
Or something like that.
Does that mean I came out backwards even though it was a C-section birth?
Oh, yeah.
Sick.
All right.
I was an ass first, baby.
I think it would be feet first, but all right, sure.
No, I was bent over. I was ass first. I was touching my toes. I was doing a stretch before I got out.
Right. I see. You're limber. Your long arms. Right from the womb.
That's why they're long, stretching them with my legs.
Right. I learned that my mom didn't feed me as a baby.
Wait, what?
That's what she just casually admitted.
Did this happen when you were in Korea?
Yeah, she was like, oh, no, I never fed you as a baby. That's why you're not like big like your cousin Hyungbei is. And I'm like, wait, what? Hold on, back up a step. You didn't feed me? And she's like, no, I kind of forgot. It's like,
oh my God.
Hey, hold on.
Wait, maybe that's why you're so big-brained. Because all of the nutrients you needed went to your brain instead of your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sure.
Uh-huh.
All right. What is the topic? What is it?
Today we're going to talk about how COVID forever has changed the world of sport.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we're going to talk about how COVID obviously impacted you because you recently just are recovering from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about how it changed the world of sports when the major outbreak happened and how that has forever been embedded and changed the world of sport.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How has it? Obviously, there was a period of time where people weren't able to go to games and whatnot. But the infrastructure for watching it was already there. So did it really make that big of a difference?
It did. I mean, economically in particular, the use of streaming services and social media has increased. There's been a lot of change to how athletes and game scheduling can be changed, because a lot of times that happened during it was games had to be postponed or delayed because almost an entire team caught COVID. And then, like, you know, there's a number of different policies that affected it, different athletes that were anti-vax that weren't allowed to participate, like Kyrie Irving with the Brooklyn Nets. He wasn't allowed to play any home games. There's a whole bunch of different things in how COVID and the pandemic has affected sports in a massive way because of how huge team sports and how public gatherings are still a giant festering ground for virus outbreak.
Why? I couldn't imagine that.
No, yeah, why? Why would...
Just like conventions would definitely not be a cesspool of disease.
Not at all.
From the unwashed masses.
That's why there's no such thing as a hashtag PaxPox, you know? It's clearly not a thing that happens every time PAX happens or other conventions happen.
Yeah, definitely not. When you get a bunch of people together, that's just how...
Flu.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, absolutely nothing, you know? Just how it is. So, Mark.
Yes.
How was your experience with COVID? Because you seem to have gotten a worse case than I had.
It still wasn't that bad in consideration. Like, it all centered on body aches and extremely sore throat. It was like one of the most intense, like, throat pains. It was just like burning, like I was breathing fire. But my fever was not that bad at all. And my coughing was not too terrible. My nose was running, head was stuffed up. It was like a pretty bad flu for about a week. I was knocked on my ass for the most part. I just slept a lot, and that was pretty much it.
How much tea did you drink? Because I know I drank like in one day, because I bought a bunch of caffeine-free tea just before I ended up getting COVID, because I was like, oh, I need more tea. And one day, I think I had like 20 cups of tea that I put ginger and honey in.
Not as much tea drinker, but I did have I was chain popping in cough drops.
Oh, yeah.
Like I ate so many of those that I was to the point where I was getting sick of them. Like, just like, not like, oh, I don't want to eat anymore. Like, literally every time I put one in my mouth, I was like, I'm going to throw up. But it was the only thing that stopped the burning, was just like having some menthol.
Did your cheeks go raw? Because I know when I had the cough drops over time, like the cough drop would kind of eat away at my cheek.
It never compared to the pain in my throat, so it wouldn't matter.
Did you have a fever as well? Obviously, you had the body aches.
Not really. Very minor. Very minor. Like 99, less than 100, I think, most times.
Gotcha. Well, the crazier part to me is, and this goes back into sports, is like, obviously a lot of things happened. For the first time in history, Olympics got postponed, which is unheard of. At least until that happened, it was unheard of. The NBA like set up a bubble that they did all of their training in. They played their games in. Yeah. Did you not?
Why couldn't they just do it in a normal building and not have anyone else there?
Because
why did they need a bubble? Why did they need to bubble boy them?
I don't know. So they all went to Florida into the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex, and it was just this bubble where nobody could come in. You had to have a certain pass to be able to come in, and every game was played in this bubble.
Why?
It was so that they kept COVID out. It was like, we are isolated.
The COVID demon. Was this back before like COVID was even understood as a disease? Like they didn't even know if it was airborne. Everyone was like, safer at home, safer at home, oh, safer at home. Put a t-shirt over your mouth, safer at home.
I mean, it was kind of one of those things they were discovering that it was, you know, passed obviously from water particulates that are coming from people's mouths and stuff like that. And so like every sport went to Florida. Basketball was in Florida and soccer was in Florida, and they just like isolated themselves. Players got in trouble for having other like people in their room, sneaking even like family members in their room or stuff like that.
Which seems like knowing now what the reality of it is like that seems insane to almost put people in jail and be like, you must still play sports. Don't stop or we're gonna lose money. Like, it seems kind of crazy.
They were fed like these meals, and there were so many pictures of it. These are people obviously that are exercising an exorbitant amount because they're professional athletes, and they're getting these like high school lunch, like Milford High School lunch meals delivered to their hotel room door.
It's literally prison then, because if it's just like that low quality on like a metal tray.
Yes.
Like Like my buddy John, who you know, was in the Navy when COVID struck, and he was on an aircraft carrier, and their entire aircraft carrier was one of the first that had COVID positive people on it at the height of it, when before they actually realized it was a pandemic in the greater US sense of things. So they had to dock the whole ship and quarantine every single person on the boat, which is about 5,000 people, into Guam. So they just pile into Guam, and then they slam everyone into hotel rooms, and they go like, you sit in your room and you are not allowed to ever leave for as long as it takes. And they were there for about a month and a half, I think.
What's crazy to me is John and I just had that conversation like a week ago when we were hanging out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, really? Because I hadn't heard that story. And so the fact that it's coming back right now, like, it was crazy. Because, I mean, the military did it. Everybody isolated at home. All of these different things happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so this is what was happening during the pandemic, which will Act 1, the pandemic. There you go. But going into...
Will was just sweating bullets. Like,
what's the act? What's the act?
God! When do I put in the act sound effect? Oh, God.
Oh, what is it going to be this time?
No one could even listen because they're like, what act is this? Is this the preamble? Is this Act 0?
Actually, there were a few people that were talking about the act thing, and they're like, they're trying to do these act things, and Tyler's doing this act thing, and it's not, I don't understand it, so it's messing with the primer. I miss the old primers, and I'm like, it sections it off. It makes sense. I'm like, why?
Does it, Tyler? Does it? But don't stop, because some people might be like, oh, I missed the act thing. Oh, you got to come in.
Now I don't know what they're talking about. It's just words.
See, this is why I just don't ever listen to what people say.
Nobody ever knows what they want, Mark. Nobody.
No one knows what they want.
Even if you have a list of who you'd want to date, you have no clue who's going to be the right person for you.
What? Wait, when did we, what?
Sorry.
What are you talking about?
Sorry. Old wounds. It's fine.
Why? What wounds? What are your wounds?
I'm single, Mark. That's my wound.
Okay, that's your wound? Jeez. All right. Anyway,
so getting into Act 2, how this is
we just went to Act 1. What do you mean Act 2?
That was me inserting that for the beginning. That was to be moved.
Okay, even I'm throwing. Are we on Act 2? Is this Act 2?
We can continue Act 1 if you want to continue Act 1. I can talk more.
No, it's I'm trying to follow along. This is an organizational structure, but I feel disorganized.
Listen. I feel disorganized. It's all organized chaos. That's what the world is. That's what everybody was doing during COVID. It was organized chaos, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously all of these teams were isolated. We're continuing Act 1 for the record now.
Okay. All right, sure.
All these teams were isolated. Even during the football season, like there were certain rules that were put in, like NFL players could not go out. There was no partying allowed. There was a no partying policy.
No parties, got it.
Yeah, but they were allowed to live at home, you know. They weren't put in a bubble.
It was safer at home.
It was much safer.
But
what ended up happening was every once in a while, one whole team would somehow have all of their players suddenly get COVID.
Suddenly.
And there would be accusations. Like there were different times. I think it was Miami, where all of their quarterbacks broke policy in a quarterback's room where they were all there and all of them caught COVID. No, it was Denver. They had to play a wide receiver at quarterback. Because all of their quarterbacks were suspended or had COVID because of breaking the COVID policy. And so they couldn't play any of their actual quarterbacks on their 53-man roster, and they didn't want to drop anybody to add a random quarterback, so they had a wide receiver playing quarterback. And the NFL refused to postpone those games, whereas there was an incident, I think, with Baltimore where a lot of them caught COVID and there was a policy broken. And they postponed the game like 3 days so that they could potentially get back and then play each other.
I had no idea about this, that they just had wide receivers, people playing just different positions to pick up wherever because they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
How did they do?
Not great. I mean, it was kind of impressive, you know. It's like a lot of them and like used to play quarterback. Like I think this guy played quarterback in high school. Was the last time that he played. There were people that like I think even kickers. There were different positions because that's been done pretty frequently. I know Chad Ochocinco or Chad Johnson, depending on how you want to view him. He changed his name. I still like calling him Chad Johnson, but he's legally Chad Ochocinco now because he changed his last name.
Well, you got to respect his legal name and his choice to change it.
You know, but it's kind of a meme as to the reason he did it.
Or is his name?
You're right. Chad Ochocinco, formerly known as Chad Johnson. He kicked for the Bengals when there was an injury at the kicker position and did very well. He kicked like a field goal and a few extra points and stuff back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of it makes you appreciate some of these other players' backgrounds and what they did before they made it to the NFL, because all of a sudden it's like, ooh, they have to do something new. This is interesting. Mm-hmm. At a professional level, how are you going to do? Mm-hmm. But really, I think the wide receiver quarterback ended up mostly running for his life.
I mean, I would imagine that you got to fall back on what you know, right?
Yeah, and then I think they lost that. They scored like one field goal, maybe a touchdown. They lost by a lot.
No way. It can't be.
But like, obviously, it's an entertainment. That's what sports are at the professional level. It's entertainment. Uh-huh. And so a lot of fans were upset because it's like, they're rooting for this one team and they feel like the NFL or whoever's making these decisions. Obviously, a lot of people have cognitive bias in the sense that they prefer their team, so they think somebody's going against them when their team gets postponed and stuff like that.
Sure.
And if you know anything about sports, you have a regimented schedule before the game and a routine that you get into. So you practice a certain number of days, you do a walkthrough, and then you're ready for the game. And when your schedule gets thrown off, it can completely throw off your performance, because it's the same thing with like training for the Olympics. They all of a sudden had more years to train, but they had to revamp back up because they were tapering and getting ready for the games so that their body was recovered and ready to compete at the highest level, that they had to suddenly completely change the routine, and all of a sudden they're training longer. You got overuse injuries. You had other things crop up because of how the world had to adjust.
Mm-hmm. The world had to adjust. It definitely wasn't business executives being like, well, we can't make less money this year. The number always goes up. Why ain't it going up? Get that wide receiver a football.
I mean,
it couldn't have been something like that.
I mean, technically, they could have just been like, COVID, you guys have to still do your job, but then they would have had the whole PR nightmare and people otherwise yelling. So,
God forbid you slow down for even a second. That's why, it's like the people who stream and, they feel like they have to stream 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, because if they don't, their viewers will just fall away and forget them, which could happen, I guess.
Oh, it does.
As opposed to viewing it just like, hey, prioritize yourself and maybe your mental well-being and doing it. No, not in that world out there. Not in that world at all. You must constantly destroy yourself for the good of the machine. Capitalism. Oh.
I mean, you're not wrong, but really, the thing is that's really more of an American issue because of the way that they do stuff.
No, what?
What are you talking about?
No.
So Act 2, how they evolved. So obviously, during the COVID days, they could not get one of their primary revenue sources in ticket sales. People were not able to attend games. Large gatherings were banned in numerous states. The federal government in the United States obviously stepped in and banned certain numbers of large gatherings as well, just like they did for concerts and everything else. Mm-hmm. So what people don't realize is ticket sales are the primary source of revenue for most professional sports leagues. Mm-hmm. Even considering the millions of dollars for TV rights, ticket sales overall are at least 50% of what their primary income source is.
Still, even to this day, ticket sales are that much?
In sports as a whole, I'd have to check per league. I'm thinking baseball might be, no, I don't know, because it varies per sport, but for the most part, ticket sales have been the primary source of revenue for all sports at the professional level and college level and beyond.
Damn. All right. Interesting.
Because you got to think about what comes with ticket sales, right? They buy the ticket, that has a cost to it. Generally speaking, there's an agreement between the teams and the venue. More often than not, the venue is not owned by the person who owns the team. Uh-huh. So there's a revenue split that goes on in the contract. And usually what ends up happening is the venue keeps the majority of concessions. And they set aside and set certain dates to where they have the venue versus the team having the venue. Obviously, they build the facilities to be able to house the team. So, for example, Paul Brown Stadium. the city built it. The majority of cities build these things because of the revenue that a professional sports team brings in. They bring in tourism, they bring in stuff, development and restaurants downtown. They bring in other sources of revenue for the city itself. And it also is an avenue of pride for the city. And also, a lot of times owners are real dicks and threaten to move the team because I want a new stadium, blah, blah, blah.
Sure, yeah.
It's a little bit of toxicity, but at the same time, it, to a degree, makes financial sense for the city to want to support the team.
In an ideal world, if everyone wasn't a bunch of assholes, it would be good for everybody. And everyone could just shake hands and be like, we'll build the stadium, you play here, sell ticket sales, pay taxes, help the community, and everyone's happy.
Exactly.
In a perfect world, and that's how it is across everywhere in America. It works every time.
110%. Yeah. We're telling the truth 110%. And so ticket sales generally go to whoever is being housed at the venue. Because they not only house like a football team or a baseball team or a Major League Soccer team or anything like that. They house concerts. They house other events, conferences, meetings, because they use executive suites in their offices for stuff. And the team obviously rents out the offices and space for them to be able to utilize as well. So ticket sales is the primary way that the sports organization, depending on how they're run, because baseball is a little bit different, makes money to be able to pay their players, pay their owners, which the owners are outrageously paid. And I won't even get into that.
No. What? The people at the top make the most?
Yeah.
You're just blowing my mind left and right here. I'm going to start calling you out.
And so the sports world had to evolve because it was starting to become a problem. It was hurting their bottom line for the organization, the governing body that runs the sport, because that's their primary revenue source. Whereas concessions and other sort of different utility things are taken care of and become a revenue source more for the stadium. You know how when we're on tour, there were concessions and stuff that happened on tour, and we had to negotiate with them to change their prices and adjust when we were there, but the venue got all of those concessions.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, the majority of tour money for like shows and stuff comes from merch sales. It's not necessarily ticket sales. There's a split there with the venue, but any concessions and stuff that's bought there generally goes to the venue that you're at when there's a tour or a show.
There's also a big fat chunk taken from the ticket seller, which is absurd. I think everyone knows that like Ticketmaster is just an absolute racket when it comes to upcharging, like price fixing, adding on fees, just like jacking up the price in every way possible. And they did this excessively also. There's another spillover, probably in the same way that for sports, but during COVID, because, oh God, the numbers went down for a year. That can't happen. Must fix that. And then they bounced the numbers way, way, way back, overcompensating and using every excuse in the book to try to like justify it.
So in order to adjust, corporations like that, obviously Ticketmaster and stuff like that, raise their prices, but the sports world had to get innovative and actually look towards technology more. During the COVID outbreak, the NFL made an agreement with Amazon to stream Thursday Night Football on Prime Video. And they saw a massive, massive increase in engagement because they had a chat. Granted, they didn't really utilize the chat from the beginning. They kind of used it a little bit more, but they started utilizing platforms such as Twitch and YouTube and various other social media sites to try and bridge the gap and connect with fans that can't come to the games now. They sold tickets to seats where you could have your cardboard cutout put in a seat for a discounted price. People still paid hundreds of dollars, but yeah, there were actual cardboard cutouts of people, custom cardboard cutouts that they would put in the seats.
That's not true. Send me. I got. Wait. What was it? Basketball? Did you say basketball?
It was basketball. It was football. It was baseball. All of them did it. I think baseball was the first one who did it.
Oh wait, in stadium.
Cardboard cutout sports seats. Yeah, this was a thing.
This is a dogs. There's dogs in this one.
Yeah, that was dog day at the ballpark. They had dog day at the ballpark, and they did dog cutouts too.
Oh man, that's the saddest thing.
But you have to understand too, like for the players, they're used to having a crowd cheering for.
That's the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life.
I thought it was crazy too, but a lot of people got excited because they got to have their cardboard cutout, their image on national television because they showed the seats.
It's so stupid.
Well, here's.
Did they play fake crowd sounds over the speakers?
Yes. They also did Zoom calls onto the like jumbotrons and stuff to have fans actually there. During commercial breaks, they would use Zoom to have people celebrating, like when somebody scored a touchdown or whatnot.
Oh, that's so sad. What do they do with all the cardboard cutouts?
I think they sent them back to the people who bought them, so they got to keep them.
Man, you know that all of them didn't make it though. There's a pile in a dump somewhere. There's gonna be a layer when archaeologists dig up the remains of former humanity. There's gonna be a thin layer of cardboard people, and they're gonna be like, "What happened here in 2020? Oh my god."
Everybody was obsessed with themselves.
My goodness.
The reason they did this was twofold. All right. So for one, it was for making money so that fans bought these. But for two, like these athletes are used to having crowds and it's hard to play a sport without like people excited for you to play in the sport. It's like you get energy from the crowd. You know, it's just like when we did tour, we got energy from the crowd. When people laughed, we were like, yeah, we're doing it. And when they didn't laugh, even though they might have thought it was funny, it was like, oh no, we're terrible.
This is just like people running a zoo and they're like, we put up pictures of trees on the walls because it makes them feel more comfortable, you know? It makes them feel like they're in the jungle, but they're not. You know, someone hits a sweet slam dunk, goes, yeah, yeah, looks at the crowd, just a bunch of impassive stares, looking dead-eyed down at them. Because all these pictures are just like the worst selfies that this age group could possibly come down. And it's just dead silence, just like, and then no mouth moving, and you hear over the speakers.
They should have just had like a prison episode where it was just all their mugshots.
I know. Yeah. I mean, that's what it looks like when I'm seeing these pictures. They should have put like little motors underneath them and sticks so that when something happened, they all just like went up and down in waves. And they're like, ah! So it looked like there was jostling in there.
They could have automated it so that you could have the cardboard cutouts doing the wave.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's going around that way. And, you know, and then all the basketball players are like, oh, it feels like I'm back home.
I'm in the Matrix all over again.
Oh, it's beautiful. I can play gooder now. Yay! Wow.
So they did that, but there were a lot of players that, you know, for fan engagement and probably because they were bored, would go over and sign people's faces and cardboard cutout stuff. There were instances where somebody fell into the stands and broke somebody's cardboard cutout, and
yeah, of course. And then they, you know, those players, they got in the habit, and then they just, now that fans are back in the stadium, they just go over and sign someone's face. The other person's like, yeah, he signed my face.
You know what? Maybe that's why Kyler Murray, when he scored that touchdown and the defense scored the touchdown to win in overtime this past weekend, so this was an incident. First of all, he got hit in the face by a fan afterwards, but he ran over and he hit somebody's hand really, really hard that was a fan of his. But maybe it was because he thought they were all cardboard cutouts again. You know, he was just like, yeah, I can do what I want. And then it was like, nope, I got hit back.
Did he? Wow.
It's being investigated, but a fan of the opposing team hit him in the face, like a slap across the face. Basically assaulted him.
Interesting.
Well, actually battered him, because if you hit and you don't expect it, it's legal terms. And so it's being investigated. But you know, it's very rare that you see that in professional sports where they actually run over and super excited interact with the fans. Like there's ways that they do. They like give high fives as they're walking in and out of the tunnels, or like the Lambeau Leap is a popular thing in Green Bay.
The Lambeau Leap? What the hell is that?
Lambeau Field is the name of the place. After a player from Green Bay, they score a touchdown, and what they'll do is they'll leap over the wall between the field and the crowd and sit on the wall as the crowd kind of like pats them on the shoulder, like celebrating a touchdown. It's just called the Lambeau Leap.
Lambeau. All right, sure.
And so this was a way for them to adjust, right? They wanted to get engagement. They wanted to use social media platforms. They wanted to find a way to bridge the gap of getting fans in the stands in one way or another and make those adjustments.
Okay. All for the greater good.
All for the greater money. So now we get into Act 3, how it has forever changed the world's landscape. COVID continues.
COVID continues. Yeah, oddly enough, COVID ain't over. For those who are wondering at home, it's still here. Kind of never left.
Yeah, because of certain decisions, it's very much likely going to be around forever, much like the flu is.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, did you know that we almost eradicated the flu when we had everybody basically stay at home?
I did know that, which was fascinating.
We were so close. So close.
So close. Oh, well.
We got to make money, man.
Gotta make money. Number go up.
Number go up.
Get those cardboard cutouts back over again. Sign them and sell them. Sell them and sell them.
They're now collectible cards. Buy them and sell them.
Get your voice recorded. We'll put it in your cardboard cutout forever so that when you die of unknown reasons, you'll be able to live on in the game forever.
Woo!
Only $995. Anyway.
So, for one, because of their need to invent and innovate new ways to engage with fans, more and more organizations now have systems in place and utilize things to engage fans that aren't able to attend games. So, Prime Video, that continues, they're talking about increasing the amount of games that they stream onto platforms like that so that they can get live engagement. It's even possible that they're going to start utilizing it and have commentators during those streams being able to interact and engage with chat. It has not been done yet because chat obviously flies and there's a lot of toxicity that happens, as you and I are both aware. And they didn't really have many moderators. I can tell you that. Even today, they still don't have moderators.
That's too much work. Why do you moderation? Just let them at it. That's what they do in the games. They don't have moderators for the audience in the games, do they?
No, they just have security that escorts them out and numbers that you can text to be like, this person is bullying me. But that's also abuse because it's just like sometimes people are from another team and they're like, he's cheering for the wrong team, kick him out.
Is that what happens? Is that what people listen to that?
It is a common issue with a lot of those numbers. Some people are just toxic.
All right.
But the biggest thing is organizations now have to have numerous backup plans. They obviously had backup plans for certain situations, but this was the first time they actually considered something like a pandemic and how they would have to adjust. So obviously, like, the only way they could reactionary approach it for the most part during those times were to postpone events or adjust games and do stuff like that. Now they have to have many different scenarios and plans. And this is a good thing because they needed to do this anyway. And this has been a long standing issue. Even when I was in school, is the lack of preparation to be ready for what could possibly go wrong. And this created a new avenue for where they have to think about things like postponing, adjusting how the game is actually played, rules, how policies are affected with collective bargaining agreements and player requirements to be able to, stay healthy and also prevent from infecting other people. Because, public health is a thing. That might have been why masks were mandated or, people were requiring vaccines.
It's funny you mentioned those plans because it would have been fantastic if the government had a plan in place for, pandemic preparation, as if it was like a top priority previously in years gone by. But, if only we had a plan in place that was followed.
Yeah, and had funding and wasn't destroyed and disbanded before something happened. Even though, all of the scientists across the world had totally been prepared for this being the next sort of thing that could happen.
If only.
It's crazy.
Hindsight's 2020, might as well be blind to the future too. Also,
it also created a sense of greater social responsibility in the sporting world.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It really called out to professional athletes to think about how their actions and what they do affect other people more so. And this was something we talked about in Social Good for Sports because, there are certain athletes that obviously are doing this and have been very much at the forefront of this, but this really forced them to recognize how much more their decisions impact and influence the decisions of people that look up to them, people that watch them, people that, seek their opinion and want to hear what they have to say. And, it really created them a necessity to stand up and be like, yo, this is something that was a struggle, like mental health in particular. Everybody knows mental health was a massive crisis during the stay-at-home situation.
Mm-hmm.
People were isolated, lonely, depression was on the rise. I don't know if you know this, suicide was massively on the rise during that time.
I'm sure it was.
And a lot of people and a lot of support needed to be in there. And it really made these athletes who also realized this during their time in the bubble or being restricted from what they could do, that, hey, this is affecting me. It's also affecting other people.
Mm-hmm. It is one of those things that I think is a universal human experience for most people. Once you experience the true effects of something that affect you directly, and, you know, not to say that these players all are one like conglomerate and sense the same things, think the same thing. But when you feel like the impact of something affecting your daily life, you suddenly can relate to people. Most people, a lot of people actually probably have the ability to, you know, empathize and try to like put themselves in other people's shoes. But for some people, they need to experience it first. So I guess I could agree with that definitely there probably was more people that realized the ramifications of these types of actions.
Well, and I think it also was an impact of like, because they started feeling that, people became more comfortable being able to talk about it because they had to. It was almost like they didn't have the support they needed at that time, and their coping mechanisms weren't there. So they ended up talking to their fellow players and finding other ways to kind of cope with their different experiences, to the point to where it's like, oh, other people have these issues too, and got the, you know, the ability and confidence to be able to be like, I can actually talk about this. I think it, like, right during the pandemic, the NFL launched their movement about like dealing with depression and mental health with athletes. A lot of that stuff started coming out because they started recognizing those issues, and they had therapists at the bubble. They had to have support systems at the bubble for people that were struggling with these things. So much so that the conversation started. And then at the same time, like, obviously, you know, people were searching for entertainment. During the pandemic, when people were isolated at home, a lot of people turned to YouTube and Twitch. Those numbers went up, and they still remain higher than they used to be because people found a place to engage with content, because a lot of filming was halted. A lot of entertainment was just reruns. Movies were halted. Sports tried to continue, but their schedules were so off. They had shortened schedules. Less games were played in the NBA. Less games were played in the NFL, and less games were played in Major League Baseball. And so it was one of those things that all of those points where you were able to see somebody else, whether it be Twitch, YouTube, or even these games, people were put in a position of greater influence in what they chose to do and say, especially with regard to the actual outbreak and pandemic itself.
Yeah. And I think that just goes to show, like, it's one of those strange conundrums where we're more connected than ever, but it's also becoming more lonely for people than ever. And so at this time in our lives, when we are kind of the most connected we've ever been, and we have the internet as a great resource, so many people still feel this like complete cloying sense of loneliness and separation from their fellow humans. And it's like good and bad, because obviously some people like spiraled into depression, and other people like found connection with other things. And then there are other avenues of entertainment out there that can provide a little light in that darkness, like YouTube and Twitch and podcasts and whatnot. And when sports may not be able to provide that entertainment, it's good to see people branching out and still finding something to get by.
And so, I mean, the biggest thing is just the creation of new avenue and content, different ways for teams and players to engage with fan bases, a recognition of social responsibility, and then obviously all of these different things continue on to this day because they're a way to adapt. And now it's a way that they realize they can better connect the fans and utilize social media and these platforms to do so. So it's something that's not going to go away, because obviously health issues and that are all there. It's more people watch sports on TV than they attend games. And it's been a longstanding issue of sports in general. Ticket sales have continued to go down. And after COVID, a lot of people, it went back up. But at the same time, it's still a differing issue because that revenue source continues to decrease over time. And it's something we talked about in school all the time, of different ways to increase and incentivize people to come to games. And so much so that I even still have this whole, like, I don't know if I ever talked to you about this. I had this whole like social media platform / app / reward program sort of thing that I created and pitched in grad school, and I never got around to making. But it was something where it was like getting people to see and connect better with their fans, and not at an individual level, from an organizational level to their fan base.
Yeah.
And so seeing that kind of innovation is really cool to me, because that's something that I've always wanted to do, and I still think I can do it better than what they came up with. So
Probably. I mean, it does seem like a lot of the people that are in charge of those types of decisions are almost unanimously older and out of touch with how to actually integrate into the internet and get connected with people. And what's fascinating is I start to realize, as someone who's been on the internet and has made a career out of this crazy thing, is that there are many more people, not just of older generations, but even in current generations, that misunderstand what it really means to be connected with people on the internet and to do things for the betterment of people's lives, as opposed to just being money motivated. I'm not trying to name anyone at all. This isn't what it is about. It's just like, it is something that I realize the more I go into it and the more I learn, and that I still learn every day. I'm not the best at it in the world or an expert at it by any means, but there's some people that I think just stop at the top of Mount Stupid in the learning curve, and they never go any farther deeper into the actual connection between people on the internet and how not different it is from connecting person to person. It is fascinating.
Yeah, Twitch and all these. You know who you are.
Exactly, not the people I was thinking of, but it's all good.
Well, any other things you want to say? That's kind of where I was going to wrap things up. So.
No, I don't think so. Be sure to go get your vaccine if you haven't gotten it already. I'm sure it saved me a world of hurt.
Yeah. Also think about how your actions affect other people, especially when it comes to when you're sick or ill and stuff like that, and try and take care of yourself and hopefully not spread it to other people, regardless of whether it's COVID or not.
I really hope that even outside of COVID, just with like flu and cold, that it kind of normalizes the idea of, oh, if I'm sick, I shouldn't just go with other people and cough in their faces.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be a thing of like, the old rule when we were growing up, it's like, yeah, don't cough in your hand, cough in your shoulder or in your crook of your elbow. It's like, how about you just stay home? How about you do that? How about you not be in this crowded mall coughing into your elbow and blasting particles all over the place? It's funny. I look up that image of like the COVID particle meme. What was it?
Yeah.
Just like the two, yeah. It's just like,
is it the peeing in your pants one, or are you talking about a different one?
No, I'm talking about a different one. I'll put it in Discord, but people probably know it's like the two gray figures and one spewing red particles, one spewing blue particles. It's just here. I got it here. It's this one. It's just
oh yeah.
It's like this was a physical simulation of the kind of particles that emit just when two people are having a conversation. It's like, yep, that is yep. That's what happens. Me and Wade knows making videos next to me. Just like the kind of just spit in your eyes.
I mean, just looking at our monitors, like mine are clean right now because I haven't streamed in a while, but just looking at the monitors and the screens and everything, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the way my monitor just gets dirty over time is just terrifying. The particles.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, just be more conscious about your fellow humans.
Yeah, the crazier part to me is just like how much, like if you need to go out, just wearing a mask helps. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a fabric mask, it reduces by a certain percentage, but getting an actual mask when you're sick, because the US is the only place in the world where if you have like a minor cough or sickness or something like that, where we don't think about other people in masks. You go anywhere in Asia, like the masks, when somebody even has like the slightest hint of maybe I'm a little under the weather, they wear a mask.
Oh yeah. I highly recommend, I learned this a while ago, but for those of you who don't know, Korea makes some of the best masks you can have. They're called KF94 masks. They're about the same as a KN95 in terms of ability to like withhold. They're more comfortable because they're shaped for your face. They actually expand and wrap around instead of snapping onto your nose.
They're so nice.
They're so nice. Like there's this tech is out there because these other countries have been doing this for. It's just normal. It's just no. You get sick.
Yeah.
It's normal. Anyway, it is what it is.
Anyway, go and support the podcast. You're already listening to it. Just make sure and download the episodes. Follow on whatever listening app you're listening to it on, whether it's Spotify or anything else. Check out the YouTube channel. Just like events, merch really helps support podcasts. We have merch, store.gmfst.com. Check that out. You can finger sports too. And I have a meeting tomorrow about making pins, so those might be soon.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mark, where can people find you?
They know where.
Oh, okay. You can find me. Just Google my name. If you know how to spell it, you'll probably find me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.